views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in the cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to RAP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts,
Kim Purvis
and Allison Robinson. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook pages, RAP Paranormal and Friends and RAP Paranormal Busters, for up-to-date show information and events. Welcome to RAP Paranormal and Friends. Have a special guest for you. We have Phill Webster. Phill is an actor, writer, spiritual teacher, among other things. He has a book out called Letting Glow, a book which helps you kind of learn to connect with your intuition and encourages readers to explore their connections with their inner selves. So welcome, Phill, to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now let's kind of dive a little bit into your book, Letting Glow. You kind of talk about your life and kind of what brought you to write this book. Can you give us a little bit of description? Like, how did you come about this book?
Yeah. The book came about essentially through, most immediately through my mum passing. It was the start of 2021 and we'd just been through COVID. And so we were kind of looking at the light at the end of the tunnel and sort of thought that we were in the clear. And I would FaceTime with her all the time because, various government restrictions and what have you. And I was keeping away, trying to do the right thing. And I hadn't seen her in a couple of months. So on this particular night, I called her, and I think it was probably the second or third time that I spoke to her that day. She answered the call, and as she sort of leaned into the screen, there was a man leaning in from the other side. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of like, okay, well, who's that, right? So we were in another lockdown. There shouldn't have been anyone there. And it was quite late at night. Plus, she lives in a very rural place where I grew up, a place called the Isle of Wight. So I kind of knew all the neighbors, and we don't have any family. Mm-hmm. So there shouldn't have been anyone there. And this guy leaned in, and I saw him long enough that I could recognize him. He had thinning gray hair, glasses, looked like late 60s or something like that. Mm-hmm. And like I say, I was kind of taken aback, and she sort of moved away to sit down. And I said, well, who's that? And she said, who's what? And I was like, okay, well, the guy, I just saw somebody. And she was like, no, there's no one here. Mm-hmm. And I kind of grilled on it, and I was like, okay, so I was like, Mom, I just saw somebody, like, who's the guy, Right. And she had no idea what I was talking about. And, she started sort of complaining about her day. And I could always tell, like, when there was somebody with her whole demeanor would change. She would start speaking a lot more politely. And it was hard to have a conversation with her on the phone. Uh-huh. If there was something with her, someone with her, she would put on all these airs and graces and what have you. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't doing any of that. And I thought, all right, well, I must have been mistaken. It just didn't sort of sit right in my head, mm-hmm. even though I'd definitely seen the guy. And we spoke for another 45 minutes. And I thought, okay, well, that's, I don't know what that was. And the next morning I woke up to a phone call from the neighbor that she'd had a heart attack and passed away. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So, of course, my mind went straight to that. dealing with the whole shock of losing her and going through the grieving process, it wasn't kind of my main thing that I was thinking about, but it was at the back of my mind. I was like, well, what was that then? Was that, are we talking spirit guides? Are we talking ghosts? Like what?
Right.
And I must admit, like at that point, I wasn't really into any of this stuff. I kind of was interested as a teenager, but then sort of got very practical as I grew older. And yeah, this just kind of took me straight back there.
Right, yeah, because this wasn't your first experiences. You had some as you were younger too, but you just kind of blew them off, correct?
Yeah, that's it. So like when I was younger, I remember when we moved into this the same house, and I mean it wasn't an old house or anything. It was built in the 80s. And I remember stuff happening around the house, like little things like cans. I remember a Coke can moving across the table, and things were switching on and off. There was like banging in the attic, but I was like 10, 12 years old. And as I got older, I thought, well, probably maybe those things didn't happen. It was just my imagination. When I was a teenager, I came across this book on astral projection, and I remember just trying to invoke it. I just thought, well, that sounds really cool. Like you get to float out of your body. I didn't know what the hell was doing. And I remember just like I tried it, and pretty much like immediately like had this separation. And I remember like one of the things that really got me about it, which it hadn't mentioned in this little book that I'd read, and it was more like a pamphlet, to be honest. It wasn't really a book. Was I remember feeling this sensation of floating up and being on the bed at the same time. But what I wasn't counting on was I suddenly had a third perspective, like from the side of the room. So I could see myself on the bed, above the bed, and all of a sudden I was watching all this from the side of the room, which at like 14 or whatever I was, just completely threw me, I wasn't prepared for that. And I just like snapped myself out of it and never tried it again, and then again, as I got older, I thought, well, did it happen or didn't it? So yeah, just around my mum passing, it just really kind of opened all these questions back up again. Like, I dismissed this guy on the call, and if I'd have been looking at it how I look at things now, since exploring all this, I would have gone straight down there. I would have been like, okay, that's a clear sign that something's up here, and I would have gone straight to her, but I didn't. So it really, just made me sort of open the floodgates to exploring spiritual practices and then really concentrating on mediumship.
Right, and that's what you've been doing now. And now in your book, you talk about your experiences, you talk about your life, and then you also have some little inserts in there about like meditation. You have different kind of like training, for beginners or things like that, correct?
Yeah. So as I started writing it, I mean, it was a few months, and I'm sort of giving the whole book away here, but but well, there's a lot in there.
Right,
but,
there is, yeah.
So a couple of months after my mum had passed, I wandered past this spiritualist church, and I didn't know that these were a thing. There are many of them around the UK, and especially in London. And I saw that like on a Sunday evening they had a demonstration of mediumship, and I was like, okay, well, let's go check this out. Since I was kind of heading in that direction, and reading up on things like that. And I showed up on this Sunday. I didn't know anybody there. Nobody, no one knew I was coming or anything like that. And there was a lady there, and she was kind of, and I went in kind of skeptical, even though I was hoping that I wanted to hear from my mum, right? And she was kind of working her way around the congregation. There was maybe 15, 20 people there, and she was getting affirmation after affirmation. And as she went on, I was thinking, well, this seems like legit, right? She was telling people places, describing houses, describing people, and pretty much 90% of the people were saying, yeah, got it. And then she got to me, and she started talking about me being a medium. Straight away, she was talking about me being this voice for spirit, and it was around that time that I was thinking about starting to write this book and looking into mediumship, and all through missing my mum at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I haven't told anyone this, this, and she just went straight to it, and then she started talking about a friend of mine that had passed. It took me a while to sort of realize who she was talking about, and then it all fell into place. and then she got to my mum, and the deciding factor for me was her accent changed. So this lady had like a very strong London accent, and then all of a sudden it just switched to this sort of Northern English accent. It was my mum's accent, and just lump in my throat, heart was racing. I was like, and that really changed everything, I have to say. And yeah, very much sent me down this path of learning about mediumship.
That's awesome that you talk about that. Okay, the lady you said, the woman, her accent's changed. I actually had been to an event, and I watched a gentleman who was a medium, and he would change his accents too, but he also did animals, like if he was connecting with somebody's pet. It was the most unique thing I have ever seen. I've never seen anyone else do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have never done anything like that. Have you? Have you tried anything like that? Have you come across where you come out with a different accent or anything like that?
I mean, it's kind of early days. I say early days. I mean, I've probably been doing this maybe, what are we on now? Like getting to the 2 year mark or something like that. So since the book's released, I haven't really been actively into it as much as practicing as much as I should be. But it's just been around, promoting the book and what have you. But until then, it was, I would get to the point of seeing somebody, being able to describe somebody, getting a message, and then I'm pretty much done. But so far, I mean, it sounds a bit grandiose, but so far 100% success rate. But when I say 100% success rate, is that I'm still, few people. It's not like I've done hundreds of readings or anything. There's plenty of room for error still. But yeah, and it's just been amazing. I'm like, okay, well, I know I don't know these things, and to have somebody sit there and confirm it, like, yeah, that sounds like my dad, or that sounds like my grandma, and some off the wall things that I've been telling them, that I've been like, okay, I don't know if this makes sense, but orangutans, and they're like, yeah, orangutans, gotcha. And I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Now, when you're out and about, do you ever pick up on anything just randomly, or do you get overwhelmed with energies or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely do. I think we spoke about this, didn't we? Earlier, like, I've just moved to a new place, and it's kind of straight across the road from a train station, and I feel like I would always take a shortcut through there. There's like an alleyway, and you can get straight into the town. And within a few weeks, every time I'd leave the house in a good mood, and then 10 minutes later, I'm just like stressed out to hell. I'm like, what's going on? And I think you pointed out, you said, well, yeah, so many people, you're just walking through this train station, and people are rushing here and there, going to work, and I've pretty much been avoiding it at all costs now. So.
I hear you on that. I have such a hard time with large groups. We have a thing called the Iowa State Fair here, and it's this huge fair, and there was like, over 100,000 people there the day I went, and so I was literally overwhelmed, because there's so many different energies and moods and things like that. It does take a toll on you, and it does drain you if you think about it. If you really sit down and think about it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of odd that I've sort of come to this since moving to London. I've been here about 5 or 6 years now, and I've really sort of found this practice of, like you say, meditation, and sort of going within and trying to find that quiet space. And ironically, I've just moved to like one of the busiest cities in the world to do it. But
all right.
But it kind of works, I suppose. You probably need it in a place like this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one thing, though. I think we talked about this too. Is that I have a hard time. I've been trying to do meditations, but like I said, I am a very high-strung, energetic person, and it's hard for me to get my brain to slow down and shut off enough for me to just focus on like a quiet space. Do you have any suggestions? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, in all honesty, talking about being a meditation teacher, like which I've learned about, I mean, I learned about it some years ago when I trained to be a personal trainer, but that was kind of more of a sort of practical, physical kind of directive. Right. But yeah, I would say that, absolutely learning about mediumship, the meditation is the key to open the door, right? 100%. And yeah, I mean, I struggle with it still, to just set aside that. And it's not, for me, I think it's just sort of procrastination, a little bit of laziness. I'll just think, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And all these little things pop up. And then you realize you haven't meditated like you plan to. But I'm trusting that's just personally at the moment for me, I'm trusting that this is just part of my journey. Maybe right now I'm supposed to take a little break and concentrate on practical things. And I trust that I'm coming back to it soon. But yeah, it's I think meditation itself, I don't struggle with it. I did a talk recently at a festival here, and it was one of the first times I had an actual group of people show up, like maybe 50, 70 people or something.
Oh, wow,
And I was like, okay, wow, it was great. And then we did this meditation, and I kind of made the point of it about embracing the distractions, right? So we were at this festival, there was a lot of noise around us and people going by and music and stuff like that. And I sort of kind of, I think you can use that to sort of place yourself in the moment. You don't have to worry about, okay, well, I can't meditate because there's a dog barking or there's traffic outside or something like that. You can kind of like use it to just be here now. And I think that's also a really important part of it, is just being in this moment where we are and just being, completely aware of yourself, and then always just bring it back to the breath, when your mind starts wandering, and it will, then just bring it back to the breath. And I've noticed huge benefits in my own life through meditating. I just need to do more of it.
I think I need a little bit of that in my life too. I need to learn how to slow down a little bit, but it's hard when you got crazy busy life. And I know you juggle things, and you're also an actor, and I don't know how I missed you in Flash. I mean, I remember that scene.
Very easily to miss me in Flash. Yeah, I almost missed me in Flash. Yeah, no, it's when I say actor, I'm using the word very loosely. But a few. I'm not. It's not really something I'm pursuing now since writing the book. Like my attention is 100% there, and there are definitely a lot of egos on film sets, and that's kind of not. Yeah, it's not the direction I really want to go anymore. And it was a funny thing because I'd lived abroad for 20 years, came back to the UK in my 40s, and I thought, well, let's start over. What would I really want to do if I could do anything, And I thought, as a kid, I was just obsessed with movies, and acting seemed like the logical way to get into it because I don't have any experience as a director or any schooling or anything. And very quickly started getting like a few small parts and like a few lines, but it was literally I'll be the guy that walks in and tells the king that we need more men, and then walk out, and then that's it. That's my scene, and then it gets cut, so it doesn't. Oh, you'll see the back of my head leaving or something. So that's just. But you get paid for it. But that's kind of been the journey. Few lines here and there, some great experiences. But I got to admit, when I saw myself on TV or the cinema or something, I was like, oh, okay, great. Now what? It wasn't the big revelation I thought it was going to be, and it was like, oh yeah, okay, there's me. so I don't know. I shouldn't say it too much because I've got an agent and I will accept the work, but it's not really my main focus. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I saw that you had posted that, so I'm like, okay. I remember that scene, but it's like. I think that's exciting.
That was cool. Yeah. I mean, I was really happy about that because I shouldn't give away any spoilers, but one of my childhood heroes, a couple of them were in that movie. So I was like, even though I'm in it for a second, I'm like, that's cool, man. I was in that. I never thought that would happen. So.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now you said you're focusing on your book, and I know we had talked about this. Do you have another book? I can't remember. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, after writing the first one, I wasn't in any hurry with it. I wasn't sure what I was even going to do with it. I sent it to a few publishers and just to get a response. And but I felt like I'd learned so much that when by the time I finished it, I was kind of like, okay, I've got way more to talk about. So I went a lot deeper. Called the second book Glowing Deeper. It's out in January, and it just kind of really dives in a lot heavier than sort of the surface level. I would say Letting Glow is kind of like a soft introduction to spirituality. If going through some sort of spiritual awakening, and also grief, it kind of deals with those things. And then book 2 really goes into some out there metaphysical topics like, time being non-linear and all that kind of fun
Wow,
stuff.
awesome. Yeah. Well, that sounds pretty cool. Now, I know you had talked about, when you were like a teenager, you did the astral projection and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'll ever try it again?
I would like, I sort of, yeah, I would like to try it again. It's not been something that I've really, that specifically hasn't been something that I've really tried in the last couple of years. I've been more sort of concerned about connecting with guides and learning who they are. And yeah, I guess initially, like I say, the main thing was that I was like, okay, I still want to speak to my mum, yeah. So yeah, astral projection. Yeah, I'd like to look more into it. Yeah, it's definitely another area I'd like to explore. Yeah, maybe I should sort of start concentrating on that next.
Yeah, there you go. No, I have never tried it. The only thing I have is I do recently dream a lot about like deceased people, not people. I mean, these people have been gone. My grandmother, she's been gone for years. Never dreamt about her. She died when I was in middle school. But a couple of years ago, she came to me in a dream, and I still remember it.
Yeah.
And I've also had people that I don't know that I know are deceased that come to me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Have you ever had any of that?
I don't think so, but there is something. I was waking up and just going back to my mum again. I haven't dreamt about her for a while, but I remember waking up the other morning, and it was almost like her voice was on a radio, and she was talking, but I couldn't understand what she was talking about, and it was so clearly her voice. Like dreams can be so, more powerful than our sort of waking imagination, I think, when you're sort of recalling, especially people that have passed. And it was her, and I sort of took from that, I was like, all right, that kind of makes sense. Like I was saying, I haven't been concentrating on meditating. I haven't really, like lately, I've kind of got swept up in talking about the book to people, and that almost felt like, okay, that I let's just say that was her, and that's kind of a good sort of point of like, I'm not quite connecting at the moment,
Right.
she's around, but yeah, dreams. I just think, just trust it, and that seems to be the key as well,
I've actually been starting to keep a log about the different dreams, because one of them, and I don't know why. I mean, I knew this kid that lived out by me. I went to school with him, and he died during COVID. I don't know from what. But then within the last couple of years, I had a dream right before I was going on an investigation, and he showed up there with another acquaintance, a girl I knew from school. I wasn't really, close to or anything, but they were both there. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I don't know. You tell me. And she never said anything. She just stood there. And then earlier this year, I had another dream that he called. And he said he needed my help. But I don't know what for. That's all he said.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I've been writing this stuff down to see if anything, connects at some point, but
Yeah. Have you thought of like actively sort of like trying to contact him, like just?
I haven't. I'm afraid because I channel, and I'm not like it's not something that I mean to do. Like if I'm on an investigation, sometimes I may get so focused into something that I start picking up things that may not actually be in that location. They could be anywhere. And then I go into this kind of weird trance-like state that I have to have a more experienced medium that I know get me out of it. So I'm still trying to learn how to keep that all in check before I try to actually contact, someone.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. And actually, talking of trance, I think that's actually the sort of path I would like to explore more. I feel that the second book that I wrote was definitely, I mean, it turns into a conversation at some point, and I was like, okay, well, I'm either just chatting away to myself here, or this is an active conversation, and I feel that like when I read back on it afterwards, it was like, yeah, okay, I didn't write that. That's way smarter than me,
Right. Yeah.
I could have come up with that stuff.
Right.
So yeah, that seems to be like the direction I'm hopefully going. Yeah, I'd like to actively sort of try and sit in trance. That would be interesting.
It's interesting. And I never knew that I was actually going into this. I would usually wake up in the grass being grounded, and things, or they would be saging me or what have you. And so I asked them, I said, next time I do this, can somebody please record me?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I can see what it's like.
And
I am a completely different person. Like my eyes.
That's amazing.
She says that sometimes my eyes will turn black, my voice will change. And it took 3 or 4 people, I guess, one time to actually get me outside. But
and how long did it last for?
It varies. Sometimes it's like 10, 15 minutes. At this last time, it took him almost an hour. Like I was literally standing out in the middle of this grass, I guess, with this like blank slate across my face, like not even coexisting in their realm or something.
Yeah.
And but it was very interesting to see it on film because my eyes were like kind of rolled back.
Yeah.
And then you could hear my recorder next to me, and the girl who was filming, you couldn't hear it on her phone, but you could hear it in my recorder, these 3 loud breaths. And as soon as those 3 loud breaths came on there, I kind of started coming to, and I was like sobbing. What those 3 breaths were, we're not really sure. If it was something that was leaving that area of me or something that was trying to attach, I don't know. It was very strange, but so yeah, if you go into it, just be careful. I mean, I'm sure it's not the same for everybody, but
that sounds fascinating. Yeah, I've only I shouldn't sort of make comment on this, but I'm going to. So I've only ever experienced it once with a guy when I was sitting in a circle. So my regular circle is on hiatus, so I've just been sort of going to random ones, open circles. And I remember, you never know what you get, right? There's some random people there, and one guy, English guy, like an older gentleman, he just suddenly switched to this, I would say, Southeastern Asian accent. I'm not sure, and he kind of sort of took on the demeanor of like a little old man, and it was like, I was like, well, this is interesting. It was I hate to say, but it was almost funny. Like I was like, what's going on, man? And he was kind of giving me all this advice. But I mean, why not? I'm not in any position to say that he wasn't channeling an old Chinese man. But yeah, he went full method.
Oh wow, that's insane.
But it was. But to the point that the teacher actually, they said it had to be like, okay, yeah, all right, stop now. Like we need to do something else.
My gosh. Wow.
Yeah, but it was interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can't wait to get to read your next book. I've read your other one a couple times, so.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I found it very intriguing. I'll have to try some of your techniques for the meditation in there. Now, your books are available on Amazon, and John Hutt's publishing has changed, correct?
Yeah, they've changed their name.
He hasn't sent it to me yet. Is it Collective?
Collective Inc. Yeah.
Collective
yeah.
Inc. Okay. I just had another gal on last night who's on the same publishing, so.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, he hasn't sent me that information yet. So I want to make sure I get it out there.
I still forget that I've got to call it Collective Inc. now as well. Yeah, but yeah, they're actually, just to plug them a little bit, they're currently having a 50% sale on all ebooks. So
wow, nice.
August, yeah.
All right, perfect.
But yeah, otherwise, Let It Glow, yeah, it's available all the usual places, Barnes and Noble, and I can't think of any more of your bookstores, but yeah, across the world.
All right, and then you're on. If anybody has any questions or wants to get a hold of you about anything. I mean, you have your Letting Glow on Instagram. You have yours.
Yep.
Do you have Facebook?
Yep. Yeah, I've got a website, phillwebster.com. Phill with 2 L's. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've had a few people. There's a contact form on there. I've had a few people getting in touch. A few people asking for readings, which I'm not I'm not
Quite
sure
right.
about yet.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, some people have just been telling me about their experiences, which I found really interesting. And one thing I talk about in the book is kind of an awakening, sort of being misdiagnosed as like a psychotic break. I've been quite overwhelmed at how many people have reached out about that they've been through something similar. They thought they were going nuts, and it turned out they were just kind of, waking up. Like, but yeah, I'd love to hear from people. Yeah, yeah, the website and then Instagram is pretty much my most active place.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you for being on the show. And everyone, please go out and purchase his book, Letting Glow. I'll have all that information posted on our social media. And thanks again, Phill, for being on. It was a pleasure talking
Thanks
to
for
you
having
again.
me. You too. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.